Hello, everybody. This is the second time I brought you this type of material in 2025. So if you're familiar with my platform, you saw some of that bombshell discovery. This, in my opinion, with the research, is the biggest, most major Jasmy news going into the mid part of 2025. This is a bombshell discovery. I know a lot of you guys click out of these videos roughly around 6 to 8 minutes. If anything, hit pause button. Come back. If you're not into Jasmy, consider coming back and watching this outline to the very end of this video. I swear, you owe it to yourself to listen to this research that we're providing to you from myself and Michael Golpe. I call it a call to action. But whatever the case be, if you want to jump around, you're welcome to do so. There are chapters in the description of this video on both channels. Before we start, take advantage of getting yourself some free USDT with a QR code that's literally above the picture frame on this video. Why? Well, it's BTCC. They offer Jasmy, they offer XRP, XLM, so on and so forth. Take advantage of that. And if you want to leverage trade, that's on you. I get it. It's not for everybody, but check it out, whatever the case be, because you do up to 500x leverage if you choose to do so. But again, got to know what you're doing. So use your own discretion. Do more of your own research if that is for you. But the options are there. If you have problems with that QR code, there are links in the description. All right. Consider smashing that like. Again, another disclaimer. If you are a regular, consider becoming a subscriber. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of why you're here today for this deep dive outline on Jasmy, because it's been a while since I've done a Jasmy deep dive, maybe a few weeks, not like what you're used to, but whatever the case be, let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is play this video. I want to give a shout out to, his name is Jesus Oil, or it might be Jesus Oil. Jesus is my Lord and personal Savior, so if it is Jesus, that's awesome. Kudos to you. He brought me some research that was awesome. So I do want to give some credit to this platform. The platform is referred to as Tesla Edge, okay? And basically speaking, you might be familiar with this guy. We're going to play some key segments from this, from Tesla Edge. So we're just going to pull that up. And then after that, we're going to get to some key areas of why it all matters. Please listen to this first part. I promise you we'll connect all the key things in this video. So if you've already seen this, maybe on a Bloomberg video or Fox Business or CNBC, you're welcome to skip past it and get to the meat and potatoes of the research. But let's go ahead and get into this. Here it is.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
Nvidia just dropped a game changer. CEO Jensen Huang says their new AI chip and platform aren't just about faster computers. They're built to completely change how full self-driving works. For years, Nvidia focused on powering huge data centers. But now, they're taking everything they've learned and pushing it into the real world, into cars, factories, and everyday tools. In this video, we're breaking down how Nvidia's latest chip, combined with a surprising partnership, is setting the stage for the next big leap in full self-driving. And why Jensen Huang says this is only the beginning.
Two dynamics is happening at the same time. The first dynamic is that the vast majority of that growth is likely to be accelerated. Meaning, we've known for some time that general purpose computing has run its course, and that we need a new computing approach. And the world is going through a platform shift from hand-coded software running on general purpose computers to machine learning software running on accelerators and GPUs. This way of doing computation is at this point past this tipping point, and we are now seeing the inflection point happening, the inflection happening in the world's data center buildouts. So the first thing is a transition in the way we do computing. Second is an increase in recognition that the future of software requires capital investment. Now, this is a very big idea. Whereas in the past, we wrote the software and we ran it on computers, in the future, the computer is going to generate the tokens for the software. And so the computer has become a generator of tokens, not a retrieval of files. From retrieval-based computing to generative-based computing, from the old way of doing data centers to a new way of building these infrastructure, and I call them AI factories. They're AI factories because it has one job and one job only, generating these incredible tokens that we then reconstitute into music, into words, into videos, into research, into chemicals or proteins. We reconstitute it into all kinds of information of different types. So the world is going through a transition in not just the amount of data centers that will be built, but also how it's built.
Jensen Huang made it clear. Nvidia is no longer operating as a chip company. It's become an AI infrastructure giant.
AI in all three areas. AI for manufacturing, so they can revolutionize the way they manufacture. AI for enterprise, so they can revolutionize the way they work, design cars and simulate cars, and then also AI for in the car. So I'm super excited about that. One of the areas that I'm deeply proud of, and it rarely gets any attention, is safety, automotive safety. It's called halos. In our company, it's called halos. Safety requires technology from silicon to systems, the system software, the algorithms, the methodologies, everything from diversity to ensuring diversity, monitoring and transparency, explainability. All of these different philosophies have to be deeply ingrained into every single part of how you develop the system and the software. We're the first company in the world, I believe, to have every line of code safety assessed. 7 million lines of code safety assessed. Our chip, our system software, and our algorithms are safety assessed by third parties that crawl through every line of code to ensure that it is designed to ensure diversity, transparency, and explainability. Autonomous, 100 million cars built each year, a billion vehicles on the road all over the world, 1 trillion miles that are driven around the world each year. That's all going to be either highly autonomous or, fully autonomous coming up. And so this is going to be a very large industry. I predict that this will likely be the first multi-trillion-dollar robotics industry. This business for us, notice in just a few of these cars that are starting to ramp into the world, our business is already $4 billion, and this year probably on a run rate about $5 billion. So really significant business already. This is going to be very large. Well, today we're announcing that our next generation processor for the car, our next generation computer for the car is called Thor. I have one right here. Hang on a second. This is Thor. This is a robotics computer. This is a robotics computer. It takes sensors and just a madness amount of sensor information. Process it, umpteen cameras, high resolution, radars, lidars, they're all coming into this chip. And this chip has to process all that sensor, turn them into tokens, put them into a transformer, and predict the next path. And this AV computer is now in full production. Thor is 20 times the processing capability of our last generation Orin, which is really the standard of autonomous vehicles today. And so this is just really quite incredible. Thor is in full production. This robotics processor, by the way, also goes into a full robot. And so it could be an AMR, it could be a humanoid robot, it could be the brain, it could be the manipulator. This processor basically is a universal robotics computer. The second part of our drive system that I'm incredibly proud of is the dedication to safety. Drive OS, I'm pleased to announce, is now the first software-defined programmable AI computer that has been certified up to ASIL D, which is the highest standard of functional safety for automobiles. The only and the highest. And so I'm really, really proud of this. ASIL D, ISO 26262. It is the work of some 15,000 engineering years. This is just extraordinary work. And as a result of that, CUDA is now a functional, safe computer. And so if you're building a robot, Nvidia CUDA, yeah. So now I told you I was going to show you what would we use Omniverse and Cosmos to do in the context of self-driving cars. And today, instead of showing you a whole bunch of videos of cars driving on the road, I'll show you some of that too. But I want to show you how we use the car to reconstruct digital twins automatically using AI and use that capability to train future AI models.
For full self-driving to become a reality, we need more than a smart car. We need an entire AI infrastructure. That's what Jensen Huang is building. Nvidia is moving fast, and everything they're building points to one direction: full self-driving at scale. With the Thor chip powering vehicles, Cosmos creating virtual roads for AI to train on, and a full-stack approach that blends hardware, simulation, and enterprise tools, they're putting the entire FSD pipeline in one place. Jensen Huang's vision is already in motion. Automakers are signing on. The platforms are live. And the tools are rolling out inside companies like Accenture right now. We're watching the shift from theory to deployment, where AI starts driving real outcomes, on and off the road. Thanks for watching.
Okay. So here's the area of emphasis I want you all to take if you are taking notes. Number 1 is robotics. Number 2 is sensors. Number 3 is radars, and the whole thing of, as you heard Mr. Jensen say, turn into tokens, predict the next path. He also mentions Omniverse, and he also mentions full self-driving at scale infrastructure. Think about the terminology here. At scale infrastructure, and he also mentions enterprise tools and platform. Now, with that all said, if you took that in, we're going to get into why this matters, okay? So Michael posted in his own notes the whole thing about Cosmos, and that's worth pointing out and so on. But again, I want you guys to understand, like we did a previous outline about IOTA. Obviously, we talk about Jasmy here. This gets good. And again, I want to pull up some of the information, because when we do this, you will see in the visual, it's this. And just in case you're new, awesome, this is going to help you out. If you're old school and followed Jasmy for a while, you already know about some of these things. But whatever the case be, I want to share this with you all. As we get into this, this is a citation from onesafe.io. They point out here the top part, Vaio Secure PC. In collaboration with Sony Vaio, Jasmy created high-security computers for financial institutions, integrating blockchain and smart guardian for a secure environment. This part, Witz, over there in Japan, they call it Witz, Mobility Service Data Platform. Partnering with Toyota, they created a platform to record tourist data for Hokkaido's autonomous region, supporting Japan's first commercial deployment of autonomous vehicles. All right, that's pretty bullish. And again, you might not know about some of these things, but these partnerships underline Jasmy's commitment to enhancing data security and operational efficiency across sectors, demonstrating their technology's versatility. All right. Now, this is where I want to give a shout out to Jesus Oil, Jesus Oil. Again, I apologize, but where the case be, thank you, brother, because he takes this snippet from our beloved Neo X Tricks in the Jasmy community, and he points out this, and that basically is, the government strongly encourages the integration of blockchain into administrative and financial services. It will play a crucial role in managing public subsidies, cybersecurity, and budget tracking. In this regard, companies such as Accenture, Sony Global Education, and Microsoft have collaborated with the authorities to develop suitable solutions. All right. What else? Well, it's this. It mentions this. We knew that, for example, you saw Mr. Jensen talk about ISO 26262 in the automotive field. Well, that leverages and boil it, mash it, stick it, and stew Witz experience in embedded software. Aha. Hopefully that caught your attention because this includes automotive, robotics, and medical devices. Interesting. Beyond development, the lab also sets up virtual simulation environments such as autonomous vehicle simulators to test technologies under the realistic conditions. It's a hands-on experimentation space that connects AI, IoT, blockchain, cybersecurity, and embedded development, all aimed at building a future society where technology is designed to be safe and, of course, trustworthy. Interesting. All right. Now, here's where it gets really good. Because you know how we talked about the whole thing of, for example, Chainlink and Jasmy? And obviously, Jasmy chose Chainlink for interoperability. Well, here's the plug to Accenture. And why point this out? Well, I realized that this guy took it with a screenshot, possibly his phone. It's a little bit blurry. Again, that's not on my end, but I apologize. It says US 105-365-37B1 United States patent. The current assignee, as you see here, as I zoom in just a tad bit more, is Accenture Global Solutions. And on the left side, it mentions specifically about a multi-source deterministic Oracle management. No, I'm not talking about Oracle as in Oracle that's connected to many things like Quant and so on with the partnership, but let's face it, there's all different forms of Oracle, and Chainlink has always been the one that's referred to as the king of oracles. So in the abstract, in the pink highlights, it mentions a master oracle may receive an oracle network identifier, so on and so forth. Middle part, master oracle may digitally sign the agreed or aggregated, data message, private key. Master key oracle may transmit the aggregated data message to the participating node of a distributed ledger. And does it say network? It does. Check mark. All right, very cool. What about the anticipated expiration of this? Not until 2029. Is it still active? Yes. Check mark. All right, let's get to the next part of this. Here is where it gets interesting. I expanded on this research. When I looked up that patent, it connected me to this, US 107-89590B2. What do we have? It mentions this in the underlying tech, Internet of Things. Interesting to see how that all comes together. And more importantly, again, why I point out, well, does this match up with engineering and computer science? Yes. Left side. Does it match up with health and medical sciences? Yes. Check mark. What about the right side? Stats, active. What about expiring many years to come from now? Yes. Check mark. 2038. Interesting. All right. Just a tad bit more before we kick it over to Michael. Here is NeoX Tricks. Shout out to you, brother. I'm going to be messaging you with the next day or so on a DM. He says Tadashi Morita, and I've also pointed out this numerous times in deep dives, is the one who developed the Felica system for Sony and is currently the section chief of cryptography and security advisor within Jasmy. The link below, it has all these inventions for Sony and others. And basically speaking, when you look more into it, here's the highlight. Like it says, Tadashi Morita, who previously developed Felica contactless IC card technology at Sony, joined us in 2020 as a security manager and senior strategist. This is from Sato-san, right? Kazumasa Sato of Jasmy/Sony. It says, we plan to have more excellent engineers and, like it's pointed out here, participate in the future. In addition to platform development, we are also developing hardware that allows users to store data more securely and perform AI analysis. Does that not check mark off what was presented in that video? And boy, do we have even some more to get into that will absolutely blow your mind, to say the least. And this is where I want to bring in the one and only, and I want to introduce him to you all, everybody. Say hello to my brother in the community, Mr. Michael Golpe.
Hello.
Yes. You need to follow this guy and just simply do it. He has a perspective like no other, and I'm so glad to be networked with him. But I want to get some of your thoughts on all that's been mentioned so far with the research, Michael.
Well, of course, the self-driving cars, the AI tech, that's all screaming Internet of Things. The connection with Link, that's huge too. And I think it makes even more sense now to me why Jasmy went ahead with Link. I see a lot coming on here. Lots of connections. I'm seeing the Jasmy IOTA connection. I'm seeing the Jasmy Link connection, and I'm seeing it how it's going around with the big players from the traditional IT space. We are changing over into this new system, and we either got to get it on board or be left behind.
We do need to get on board or left behind, and that's the whole bottom line when it comes to a lot of these particular technologies. I mean, I know this isn't a quant video, but even Gilbert Verdian had that call to action as we cited from last year. Let's jump more into this and why it matters for you all. And as we get into it, what else do we have in regard to the major update with the research? Well, it's this. Remember how we talked about Tadashi Morita? This is good stuff, everybody. I want to share this with you all. So what we have here is expanded research. Yes, from myself. Let's get into it. U.S. patent. What do we have? Well, this is US 9547073. It dates back to January 17th of 2017. You see the applicant is Panasonic Corporation, radar device. And who is listed as one of the inventors? Tadashi Morita. As we know, he's done some work with them in the past. But whatever the case be, that is absolutely profound. And what does it specifically mention in regard to it all? Radar device. Wow. How about this? A little bit more about it. If you get into some of the other key things, you see this: the study of application of automotive millimeter wave radar to traffic counter. Institute of Electronics, Information, and Communication Engineers technical report of the IEICE. Wow. As we take you further into this outline and why it matters, when we get further into all of it, well, it's a little bit more of that expansion to the patent, because as you see here, does it reference Japan? And absolutely does. It says this invention is based on Japanese patent application number 2012-062493, filed on March 19, 2012. The content in which the incorporated herein by reference mentions specifically some of these key things. And I think that is big because it mentions the disclosure is useful as a radar device, which improves the accuracy of determining the type of vehicle regardless of the shape of the vehicle. So there's your plug, there's your connect, and again, constant references to radar. You kind of get the gist. All right, as we pull up more about this and why it matters to you, on a Grok search, it says, basically speaking, in regard to Nvidia and Jasmy, would we have an overlap? And in my opinion, this is a bombshell from even Grok. Ecosystem overlaps and indirect connections. Several indirect connections suggest an ecosystem overlap. Japan's AI infrastructure, Japan's government is collaborating, as we know, with Nvidia to develop a generative AI infrastructure certified by the Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry. Jasmy, yes, it mentions Jasmy and Nvidia collaboration. Hype sparks, but given Jensen's focus, which we know that's the layer 2 solution for Jasmy, AI times deepen, has a focus on AI and its Japanese origin. It could benefit from the national initiative, but this is not a direct connection with Nvidia. However, we know that there's some interesting things here, and especially where there's deep link and so on. And while it's not confirmed, understand the whole thing of NDAs. As we take it further into why you're paying attention to this, even on a search, when we talk about Panasonic, because we know about Panasonic's connection to Jasmy with a direct partnership, which has been fully verified and confirmed from both, obviously, Jasmy and Panasonic. Well, this comes from IoT Evolution World. On that search, you see Panasonic sells semiconductor patents to Y-Land subsidiary. Microsoft Azure will host Nvidia Omniverse Cloud and Nvidia DGX Cloud for supercharged enterprise solutions. Remember back to the whole thing what Jensen was talking about? This matches up. Check mark. Number 2, AI in business. CES 2023 AI roadmap. AMD AI chips. Nvidia Omniverse. Check once again in regard to Amazon and Panasonic collaborating to integrate Alexa into Panasonic skip gen in-vehicle infotainment system. Jasmy wants to contribute to the overall bigger picture of what, everybody? Society 5.0 moving forward. little bit more about this and why you're here, because when you go to IoTEvolutionWorld.com, dating back to 2018, Panasonic sells semiconductor patents to Wyland subsidiary. That is a big, big deal, to say the least. And on top of that, does it mention anything specific in that regard to what we're talking about? The answer is yes. And we see here, for example, that even though it's confidential, you see lots of references here in regards to PCs, gaming, mobile handsets, and even network and automotive. Check it once again. As we pull up another citation, you see here from AI Business, Amazon Panasonic partner on Alexis for cars. Amazon and Panasonic collaborated, at least at that time, to integrate Alexa into Panasonic Skip Gen in-vehicle infotainment. Again, just another source to pound it home that much more. And how about this? Just in case you weren't aware of it, Nvidia has recognized SoftServe as a partner of the year, and it mentions specifically Omniverse platform for working in a virtual environment. For example, SoftServe's clients include IBM, Cisco, and Panasonic. That is major. All right. What about Sony and Panasonic? Well, dating back to 2014, Sony and Panasonic developed new optical storage standard, and that, of course, was referred to as Panasonic Omniverse, which, of course, back in 2024, Sony announced specifically some specific updates. All right, before I kick it back to Michael, I want you to see this for yourself. Nvidia has recognized SoftServe as a partner of the year, and again, these collaborations with virtual reality and even AI. All right, well, at the end of the day, I think everybody wants to know this, because if I'm going through all of the discoveries, do we have verification from Grok about if Panasonic ever partnered with Nvidia? And boil it, mash it, stick in a stew. Once again, Panasonic has in fact collaborated with Nvidia on specific projects. Through the partnership, it is not broad or exclusive alliance, but back in 2022, Panasonic partnered with Joja and Nvidia to integrate GPUs, networking, and storage for high-performance computing, HPC, and AI applications, as showcased at SC 2022. Additionally, Panasonic's Connect KAIROS, a native SMPTE ST2110 switcher, utilizes NVIDIA networking technologies. I know I sound hyped, and I am. The research just hypes me up. Sorry. As highlighted in NVIDIA Media and Entertainment Partner Showcase. These instances indicate targeted technical collaborations rather than a strategic or corporate level partnership. I prefer seeing that other than what is strategic, everybody. I want to see that utility in motion. But while no evidence suggests deeper or ongoing partnership beyond the specific use cases, you can draw your own conclusion in regards to what would be used in the future. Is that future here soon? I think it basically is. And I want to give this shout out to this brother in the community. Yep, I refer to him as the Jasmy Yoda. KIR Finance on a search is the only person in the entire research consortium of KAIROS who cited some of this. So awesome shout out to Jesse, our brother in this space. He points out that Escon Field Hokkaido, known as the best baseball park in the world, opened in 2023, and it is in fact the site of the Jasmy Witz partnership. The entry-exit system. Panasonic was also heavily involved in the ballpark. Panasonic is one of a kind KAIROS IT IP platform, and look what it says here. This gets so juicy, it's going to blow your freaking mind. Wow, look at this. One of a kind to enable video with diverse aspect ratios and intuitively layered resolutions to 600 digital signage displays for immersive real-time viewing experiences with low latency throughout the stadium, hotel, hot springs, and saunas. There's also Panasonic Club near third base, but whatever the case be, you see how this all comes together. Here's a few visuals, and man, oh man, to see the verification with actual research, I think speaks volumes about it all, whether it's an unrivaled ballpark or whether it's some of these other key things. And like you see, Panasonic front row center on the right in regards to that specific club lounge. So before we get into the last part of it, to pound it home even that much more, man, oh man, Mr. Michael Golpe, the way I look at it, sir, is there is some things there that people are simply sleeping on when it comes to the connections of Jasmy and the bigger picture. And I think the bigger picture is the plug of Junction, that layer 2 scaling, deep in times AI solution. Again, some of your thoughts.
My takeaway is the future is now. Everything that was in the movies back from the 80s and 90s on forward, it's coming to fruition. Jasmy is the sleeper of sleeper cryptos, it seems. Tying in with Nvidia like this, watching the whole piece from Nvidia, I'm blown away by this. I see a lot of utilization of what you would see like the future cars, how driving is going to be autonomous. The little indicators are in the road in Japan, from what I last remember. People will be able to just drive around without touching the wheel. And my takeaway is that definitely Jasmy is the sleeper. I want to hear more of what you got here. I'm pumped up. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pumped up right now.
Yeah, I'm very pumped up. You can hear it in my own emotions. Let's get back into it because we realize this is quite the deep dive. And let's face it, a lot of people click off and, man, you really missed out. I'm just going to say that.
Right.
Let's get into this, guys. This is awesome stuff, to say the least. So what do we really have? Well, check this out. This is actually going to come from Witz. They have some updates. Yes, Witz has some updates. So let's pull this up. And as you see right here, it's kind of like a roadmap of updates, to say the least. So we'll start off with this one. So in my own notes, remember we watched that video together. One thing that stood out from Mr. Jensen: robotics, sensors, radars, and you can turn that into tokens. Think about it, everybody. What is he referring to? Well, he also talks about predicting the next path. What is the next path? Omniverse he talks about, right? Full self-driving scale infrastructure, enterprise tools. What are some of the tools? Okay, so we know that Jasmy will benefit the local societies because as pairings, they even have their own stablecoin, DD. We talked about Japanese yen denominated stablecoins and so on. And again, you're more than welcome to take a look at some of my deep dives in my video catalog. But again, let's jump into this. I think it's very major, to say the least. So as we see here from Witz, we will be speaking at the International Symposium on Artificial Intelligence Standardization. And how many times I talk about standards like with ISO 222, ISO TC 307 with Quant Network, and even with what Jasmy has with ISO 27001 when it comes to everything they're connected to with patents, you name it, right? So this was mentioned on June 18th. And I think this is definitely worth pointing out because it gives you an idea how it all comes together. At the International Symposium on Artificial Intelligence Standardization, AI Standardization towards the realization of trustworthy AI, that was to be held at least last year, but it's the people that showed up to this, okay? So again, Human Machine Evolution System Guidebook. Who were some of the participants who were there? I don't know if you guys remember one of the old deep dives I did about how Jasmy can become an ISO standard. This guy was in that intro. He is Professor Dr. Roy Sugamura, Supervisor Innovator Coordinator at National Research Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology, AST. He is the chairman of AI Standardization Committee, AST. And by the way, ISO IEC JTC1 and SC42 Japan Mirror Committee. Now, I know that Chainlink chose, or I should say the other way around, Jasmy chose Chainlink, and I respect that. But this is why I posted so much info over the years about Quant and potentially Jasmy. Again, I think they're indirectly involved, and here's proof of that. NIST is a part of ISO TC 307. Look it up for yourself. That is the Quant Network standard. And who was a participant in this? It's Chief AI Advisor from NIST, Associate Director for Emerging Technologies at Information Technology Laboratory, and it is Miss Elham Tabasi, okay? I think that speaks volumes about some of these participants, and there's many talents. Here's another one, Senselink. I just covered that a few times in some of my recent deep dives. Senselink, is also part of ISO TC 307. That's the Quant Network standard. So I'm just throwing that out there. Wow, big, huge connections, to say the least. All right, look at this. The timeline, okay? So focus on this part. It says we'll be exhibiting at Robot Technology in Japan. And again, that was last year. Again, robot technology, okay? And some of this AI stuff. Now watch, this is going to get really interesting. Remember how we talked about in the notes specifically about, predicting the next path, and even in the illustration, some of those partners. Okay, so this gets good. Because the whole concept of Witz having a statement of a partnership building declaration announced, well, again, you saw the whole timeline. It's not just what's in 2024, was also what was in 2023, promoting a collaboration and coexistence and prosperity with their supply chain partners, business operators, again, creating value, collaboration, strengthening some of that, and so on. So I think this is major. And here's the icing on the cake. The icing on the cake is this new recent update. Max, you're just citing stuff from the past. You don't have nothing new from Witz. Well, guess what? Yeah, I do. Look at the date. Literally, look at the date. This flew under the radar. We will be exhibiting at ROBODEX from Wednesday, May 14, 2025 to May 16th in Kansai. And you see this call to action. So my thing is this. We have already researched the whole thing of Sony with Afeela. We know that Sony, basically you have former Sony executives that are part of Jasmy. We have Tadashi Morita, who does the patents, obviously dating back not just to Sony, but to Panasonic as well. And we also know what he's done with the work with Jasmy. Then you see this, and again, this gets incredibly interesting. So excited to be a Jasmy holder, as you can see. I think this is so major because, again, it's these participants, and they're going to be part of this thing. They're going to be part of this particular ROBODEX. All right, so focus on ROBODEX because Mr. Jensen talked about robotics a lot, right, in that particular video. Well, here it is. Boil it, mash it, stick that sucker in the stew once again. ROBODEX is a Japanese technology exhibition focused on robotics and related technology, specifically robot and development application, including robots, autonomous guided vehicles, yeah, baby, there we go, and components for robots. It is also the name of a company that develops, operates, manufactures, and supports commercial UAVs, which means unmanned aerial vehicles, with a focus on integrating intelligent energy fuel cells. Energy fuel cells is your what? That is your Jasmy Panasonic plug, for crying out loud. And even on this Innovation Week, Japan's leading robotics technology expedition, everybody's recognizing this. This is going to be the next thing that's going to be coming up here soon. And guys and gals, everybody, this is absolute bombshell information because guess what? The ROBODEX exhibition, as cited from Gronk, has featured other corporations and institutions such as Kawasaki, for crying out loud, presenting production improvement activities using IoT and learn manufacturing. Honda, because we know they're collaborating with Sony. Remember how we talked about Sony Afeela? That's also Honda's part of that. That showcases production engineering based on its manufacturing philosophy. And boy, oh boy, when you see other large corporates or institutions beyond intelligent energy, ROBODEX, it has been linked to all these major corporations and institutions. They have, like it says, however, serve as a hub for broader industry collaborations with RX Japan Limited, facilitating connections among robotics firms, technical experts, and even manufacturers. And just in case you weren't aware of Honda Sony Afeela, dating back to January 6, 2025, electric vehicle gets a $90,000 price, but plus subscription. What do you think that subscription would be? Look at the Jasmy base model. Look at all the research that we talked about for a good 2+ years, 3 years, even people before me. Jasmy, if you look at the white paper, talks about subscription-based model for data democratization. My gosh, I feel as though this is one of the biggest discoveries in the research, to say the least. And there's so many publications that are talking about this, even from Electric, about Afeela One's EV, $90,000 price tag, and again, plus subscription. Think about it. Back to what the guy from Nvidia talked about, Mr. Jensen. Back to the whole thing about the tokens. I think this absolutely speaks volumes, and just to confirm it a little bit more in regards to Afeela, look at this. I know I sound excited, but my God, I haven't been this excited in a long time. Data management needs Afeela. Data management. What about personal data management? What about Jasmy and the personal data locker? Look at this. The Afeela's One's personal agent autonomous features likely rely on collecting, processing user data. This is Grok saying this. This is not Maximus Crypto saying. I'm just reading it verbatim. Voice commands, driving patterns, entertainment preferences. Does it align with Jasmy's focus on secure data management for IoT devices? It does. It says it aligns, everybody, just in case you don't see it. It sounds like I'm yelling. I'm sorry. This aligns with Jasmy's focus. What about the Sony connection? Jasmy is founded by Sony executives. Look what it says, including Sony Honda Mobility. Could tap into Jasmy blockchain expertise, especially for IoT applications like a connected EV. Holy cow. And just in case you're not worried about it, there's other citations and other references from streaming to gaming. Sony times Honda's Afeela 1 elevates every ride. Every ride. And what else do we have from Nvidia? Reimagining growth and profits and safety with the help of Nvidia QOpt to solve complex routing problems and incredible AI compute powered by Nvidia, Jetson AGX Orin. And look what it says there. That's why I include Kawasaki, is developing a digital platform. My goodness, this is a whole ecosystem that people aren't even aware about. And some people say, well, over here in the United States, they don't really look up Jasmy a lot. Okay, fair enough. NeoXTrix points this out in the visual that the number one search in regards to forensics tools dating back to November 2024 edition, at least over there in Japan, points out this ranking. It says this, and I'll zoom in just a tad bit more. Introducing the latest popularity rankings that are useful for comparing forensic tools. In November 2024, we presented forensic tools that have received the most inquiries from users on IT. And what does it say on the right side, everybody? My goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Jasmy, secure PC, computer forensics, network forensics, data recovery, data acquisition, trace investigation. I'm done talking about it. My goodness, I just want to get back to you, brother, because you deserve to speak, and I apologize, but I was so absolutely psyched about the findings, to say the least. Your thoughts, my friend, my dear friend, Mr. Michael Golpe, and I just want to include you and thank you. And guys, please give him a follower at Michael Golpe on his channel on YouTube and X. Welcome this guy to the Jasmy Army, because he holds Jasmy, apparently. And again, I got to get some of your closing thoughts, because I think this is a bombshell discovery, to say the least. Shout out to all you guys to stay the course with this really long deep dive.
Wow, I'm stunned by it. And you're right, this is a bombshell. This tied in the traditional companies in Japan like Nvidia, Kawasaki, Honda, I mean Sony, of course. You got Jasmy in there. You just gave everyone the bombshell, in my humble opinion, about what to buy, because this is the future. It's coming online. We got robotics, we got drones, we got self-driving cars. Wow, this is a fantastic deep dive. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, in my opinion, time to buy.
But not financial advice. Wah, 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 right? Anyway, you know how we got to protect ourselves. Anyway. Well, guys, I don't know, Michael. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts or anything else you want to add, my friend.
Wow. I'm just so stunned. Your expertise is amazing in this, in researching this. You are a go-to person, my friend. If you're not subscribed to this channel, if you just happen to stumble upon, follow Maximus Crypto. You got all the, just follow this channel, or just go to it. If you see it on my channel, I'm going to tag him in it, of course. Follow Max. You're going to get all the info you ever need.
Thank you, brother. That means a lot. So with that said, I'll give you the honor of giving everybody the closing code word, because you guys know how it goes. If you listen to the entire outline, we give you a code word. So what is the code word for everybody as we close it out, Michael?
AI.
That's fair enough with me. That sounds fair. That sounds right. So AI, type in AI into the comments. And no, we're not talking about Allen Iverson. We're talking about artificial intelligence. And shout out to AI, Allen Iverson, right?
Right.
Thanks again for tuning in, guys. I'm telling you flat out, Jasmy was doing some recent pumping, which is kind of cool. Actually, it's really cool. But man, if you guys really understand Jasmy and that long-term vision, I think you can get an idea about it. But there's going to be so many people who are going to swing trade it. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. But for me, Jasmy is one of the most slept on, best projects out there for that long-term sustainable growth that we're all hungry for. The connections are so robust. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I really mean this when I say this, and I think Michael does too. I am so praying and rooting for all your success. I really, really mean that. As you see, I'm very passionate about this. I've been so glad to cover Jasmy, even since back to the days of the monitoring zone and when Binance put him in there. I did not escape from my convictions of Jasmy, because I did the research. A lot of you guys did the research too. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Jasmy and the whole Binance situation, but did it not do some pretty decent pumps and have some real significance in regards to its performance for the week? In light of all that, it did. If anything, let that speak on top of all the research. So we won't keep you any further, everybody. Know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. We will see you on the next one. Over and out.